for me, being a Pan-Africanist, the problems of any black people are the problems of all black people.
Okay.
Absolutely.
And so for me, I don't care whether it's Jackson or Johannesburg, South Africa. If I'm called upon, I'm showing up.
Right.
Because one thing we know about racism, they may drop the problem in one city, but before you know it, it's all over the country.
Right.
So we have to fight it before it gains momentum. And that's one of the weaknesses of black people. We're very sectarian, very tribalistic, very selfish. So if it's not happening in our hometown, if it's not happening in our city, our state, we tend to ignore it. When the truth of the matter is, if we would have dealt with it when we first saw it, wherever it raised its head, we probably could have killed the demon before it came to our doorstep.
Yeah.
Right.
So that's a weakness of black folks. We tend to fight problems after they've already gained momentum. Number one, I think black people have to get off both plantations.
Okay.
Get off the Democratic Party plantation and the Republican Party plantation. We should build our own independent black political union and then leverage our voting numbers to make demands on either major party, right? There's never going to be a black president unless they want one.
Right.
And I don't want another black president,
Right.
because truth be told, the reason we're in the situation we're in is because we gave Barack Obama 8 years to do whatever the hell he wanted to do to black people. Most of the problems we suffering from right now, the Jackson water crisis, all of it, you can trace it back to a neglect of Obama that black people co-signed. So I don't even blame Obama. We co-signed it. No other president in American history did we sit back and let do whatever the hell they want and ask them not to do nothing.
Now let me ask you this: you make mention of the Democratic Party like that. What are your thoughts about this Republican Party?
Well, both of them are demons.
Okay, well,
both of them are
because
demons.
I'm wanting to know where you're going at with it.
That's
so,
why I said
yeah,
earlier,
yeah.
we need to start our own black political union or our own black political party. We don't have a racial ego.
Right.
We have a Christian ego. We have a Muslim ego.
Right.
We got a Democratic ego. We got a Republican ego. We got a gang ego. We got a sorority ego. We got a Masonic ego. We don't have a racial ego. Yeah. So there's nobody who's defending the best interests of the race, who's looking out for the best interests of the people. Right. Everybody is sectarian, even when it comes to politics. The mere fact that some of us are Republicans and some of us are Democrats speaks to the fact that we're fighting somebody else's agenda. We got a Democratic ego, and we're not even white people, but we don't have a black ego. So what you're gonna have to do is reconstruct the collective consciousness of African people. You're gonna have to do that one African at a time. You gotta start bringing us together. We gotta organize the old way. Forget social media. You're never gonna organize black people by using TikTok, Facebook, and Instagram. First of all, those are all white platforms. They'll shut you down in a minute the minute you say something that ain't right. And they're tied into the FBI. Mark Zuckerberg is and CIA. So it's nothing but an FBI device. We got to organize the old school way. Door to door, we having a meeting tonight. Coming out, we gonna feed you. You gotta feed black folks so they're not gonna come. Because we're politically immature. We're politically immature. You also gotta entertain black people or they're not gonna come. We're the only people in the country, if you want us to come out, you either got to feed us or entertain us or both. White people don't need to be fed. White people don't need to be entertained.
But
Chinese
they have resources.
But you have to build it. You had resources too, but you dissipated them. We're $2 trillion, my brother. We spend $2 trillion on Jordans every day. $4 billion on liquor. McDonald's gets $1 billion. $30 billion on hair and beauty. We have it, but you have to organize it. And the biggest resistance to the organization is the self-hatred. Remember, there's no racial ego. Black people have given up on being black a long time ago. That's why we got niggas running around talking about some of the Indians and aliens and all this other stuff. Nobody wants to be black anymore. You see? So you got to rebuild that. Rebuild that. At times, and it's going to be hard. This ain't no easy thing.
Oh, no, that's what
it may not even get done in our lifetime.
That's what I was segmenting into. At times, do you feel like you by yourself in this, and do you have like opposition coming from your own kind?
There's always going to be opposition.
Yeah.
Right.
But do you feel like you by yourself doing it? Because we see you on all the platforms and this, that, and the other, and I don't know if I can necessarily say I see anybody talking like you. But I do know two most dangerous things on the planet is sincere ignorance and conscientious stupidity. So how do you
There's two answers to that question. One, I'm not alone.
Okay.
In that I have tens of millions of supporters around the world, right?
Okay, sure.
Like, for example, the school we building in Wilmington.
Okay.
That's the first school in the history of this country that was built exclusively off donations from Africans from every continent. So I get nothing but love.
Okay.
You understand?
Right.
I'm probably the first mainstream scholar to have the following of these people hanging up on this wall.
Gotcha.
Put me in the room with any rapper. More people probably gonna come to me than any rapper.
Right. Gotcha.
That's the type of love I get, right? So that's the one answer. The other answer is the frontline battle. Yes. Because there's not a lot of black people who are willing to take the stands I take, who are willing to show up and show out the way that I do. See, if you look at most conscious people, the so-called conscious community, I call it fake woke, because all they do is do videos. Nobody's doing any activism. One of the biggest differences between the conscious community of today and the civil rights era of the 60s is they didn't have the knowledge we have. They didn't have all the degrees. but they had the activism. Stokely was on the streets.
Right.
H. Rap Brown was on the streets. King, Malcolm, Mega, they was on the streets. Look at these guys today. Look at your YouTube being fake wokers.
Yep.
What activism?
You never mentioned Dr. King.
No, King is, I'm a hero. I'm speaking at Dr. King's April 3rd. I've been to the Mountaintop speech celebration in Memphis on the 3rd. So shout out to Memphis. I'll be there on the 3rd. But the point is, these guys today have all this knowledge.
Right.
They don't do nothing with it. The whole conscious community has been reduced to a what? To a podcast.
Yeah.
So unfortunately for me, I get more attention from the white power structure than I deserve. See, back in the days of Stokely and King and Malcolm, J. Edgar Hoover had to worry about 20 legitimate groups. Right. He couldn't focus on one. He had 20. I got to keep the SCLC. I got to watch the Freedom Riders. I got to watch the Sit-ins. I got to watch Elijah. I got to watch Garveyites. I got to watch Stokely. You see, today, you can count on your one hand the people who are sincerely committed to our people, struggling in the streets, who are not being financed by white people. I want to add that because some of you will say, well, I know this guy, this guy. Show me who ain't getting money from white people.
Right.
You feel me? I can't name one group. Let me take that back. I do know a few. New Black Panther Party, Fred Hampton Gun Club, there's groups, right? The UNIA, the Garvey movement, there's different groups. But frontline grassroots action, politically speaking, you can hardly find anybody who's not being funded by the enemy. And that's another big problem that we have. You're trying to fight for justice using racism's dollars.
Right.
It'll never happen.
Just like BLM, huh?
BLM. Well, I think BLM was a CIA, FBI front to take over the traditional masculine-led Black power movement with the LGBTQ and bring all the Black youth over to the LGBTQ camp. So they used the red, black, and green flag. They led with Black power. Yeah. But when you looked at the agenda, it was all LGBTQ.
Yep, that's right.
I think that was the hijacking of the masculine leadership of the Black power movement.
Right.
Because one thing about BLM that's very interesting, right? They have never been audited by the IRS.
Wow.
We've been audited already, and we haven't collected nowhere near the amount of money. Do you understand me? So how does FDMG get audited by the IRS? And BLM has collected tens of millions of dollars. They've been all over the internet. Candace Owens, who's a Negro on the coon, but she did a documentary on them, and the IRS ain't touched them.
Have you ever debated Candace Owens?
No, but I'll do it. I'll gladly conduct the intellectual assassination.
You ever met her?
She can't go to war with me.
Nope. No.
She's a coon. She's married to a white man. I have no respect for her, but I'll gladly conduct the intellectual assassination.